I want to take you back to a very specific moment, not graduation day, not the exam results, not the celebration, the Monday after. You wake up and for a few seconds, everything feels normal. And then it hits you. There is nowhere to be. There is no class, no rotation, no supervisor expecting you at 7 a.m. And there is no timetable, nothing at all that dictates to you where you're supposed to be. Just a qualification on a piece of paper and a silence that you are not prepared for. And in that silence, the questions start coming. When will the internship posting come out? What am I supposed to do until then? Should I be doing something right now? Am I wasting time? Is everyone else figuring this out except me? So if you have lived that Monday, or if you are living it right now, this episode is the one I most wish had existed when I was in your position, because nobody tells you about this particular period and nobody prepares you for it as well. Nobody hands you a map that you can follow. So today we are going to build one together. We're going to build that particular map. Welcome back to After Campus series. I'm Libea Bethwell and this is episode 6 and we are officially in week 2 of the series. So if you are joining us for the very first time, welcome. This is a 20 episode series built specifically for medical students, pre-interns, and early career health professionals. And everything your training didn't teach you about building a career, that's what we cover here. And last week, we laid the foundation. We talked about identity. We talked about career mapping, transferable skills, and the comparison trap that you need to avoid. Now, this week, we get intensely practical because week 2 is entirely about one thing, the pre-internship period. That is what we're covering week 2. That gap between graduation and internship that can stretch anywhere from several months to over a year. That period that the system creates and then leaves you to navigate completely alone. Now, today is the overview episode, the honest, full picture conversation about what this period actually looks like, what it does to people who aren't prepared for it, and how to approach it in a way that means you come out of it stronger than you went in. Now, let's begin. And I want to tell you about 3 graduates as a way of beginning who attended same university, same course, same graduation year, but 3 completely different pre-internship experiences. Now, the first graduate, let's call him Brian. Now, Brian graduated with good grades, strong clinical rotations, and everyone expected great things from him. And then the gap started. Brian told himself he would rest for a month, which became 2 months, which became 4 months. Not because he was lazy, no, Brian was hardworking, but because he had no structure to put to his time, no framework for what this period was supposed to look like. And as the months passed, something happened to Brian that nobody had warned him about. His confidence started to erode. It did so quietly. It did so slowly, like water wearing down a stone. So he started doubting his clinical knowledge and wondering if he had already forgotten things. Now, he began feeling increasingly disconnected from the profession he had trained so hard to join. And by the time his internship posting finally came through, Brian walked into that ward feeling like an imposter, like the version of himself that had graduated was somehow already gone. And it took him the better part of that internship year just to find his footing again. Now, the second graduate, let's call her Fatma. Now, Fatma was the opposite of Brian in almost every way. Now, she refused to let the gap year be unproductive, but her version of productive was pushing. So she enrolled in every short course she could find, attended every seminar that was available at that particular time, volunteered at 3 different facilities simultaneously. That was very, very crazy. And she was always busy, always moving. And from the outside, of course, Fatima looked like she was crushing the pre-internship period. But inside, she was running from an anxiety of stillness. Now, feeling every hour, so she wouldn't have to sit with uncertainty. That's what she did. And because she never rested, never actually processed the transition from student to graduate, she arrived at her internship completely burnt out. Now, before it had even begun, she was already spent. She didn't have any energy left to be able to give her best in the internship. Now, the third graduate, let's call her Zawadi. Now, Zawadi did something different. She started by giving herself 2 weeks of genuine rest, not guilty resting, not anxious rest, deliberate, intentional, unapologetic rest. Now, she had just completed 6 years of one of the most demanding academic programs that exists. So she decided she had earned 2 weeks, and then she sat down with a notebook and she made a plan, not a punishing plan, a sustainable one. And she identified 3 things she wanted to do with her pre-internship period. 1, clinical, so that she can stay sharp. 1, professional, so that she can build something for her career. And 1, personal, so that she can invest in a part of herself that training had neglected. And she structured her weeks around those 3 things. Not rigidity or not rigidly, but she did so intentionally. She structured her weeks intentionally. Now, 12 months later, all 3 of them started the internship. Brian spent the first months rebuilding confidence he had lost. Now, Fatma spent the first months recovering from exhaustion she had accumulated. And Zawadi, on the other hand, walked in with clinical knowledge she had maintained, a CV with real substance on it, a small but meaningful professional network, and perhaps most importantly, a clear sense of who she was and where she was going. Now, same gap, same 12 months, 3 completely different arrivals. Now, the difference was not talent. The difference was not luck. The difference was a framework, and that is what today is about. Now, before we talk about what to do with this period, I want to be honest about what it actually feels like, because I think a lot of the harm that happens during the pre-internship year comes from people experiencing something very difficult and thinking that the only one experiencing it. Of course, we like to name that feeling because many of us don't or can't put a name to that feeling. The pre-internship period, it feels purposeless. You've spent your entire academic life with a clear goal in front of you. You pass exam, complete this rotation, go to the next year, and then suddenly there is no next thing. There is no deadline, there is no assessment, there is no measurable progress. And for a brain that has been trained on structure, that absence of structure doesn't feel like freedom. It feels like floating, unanchored, and that feeling is deeply uncomfortable. It's deeply uncomfortable. Also, the pre-internship period, it feels invisible. Now, when you are a student, you had a role, a place in a system, and an identity that the world around you recognized. Now, you are in between. Not a student, not yet practicing professional. And that in-between space has no title. It has no lane. It has no clear social location. And for professionals, in a culture where status and role matters enormously, that invisibility is harder than most people admit. The other feeling is that the pre-internship period, it feels financially precarious, and most pre-interns are not earning, of course. And after years of depending on family support through training, the extension of that dependence into this period carries its own weight. It's not quiet shame. or its own quiet shame. It carries its own pressure, and especially for those who are older, who feel like they should already be contributing, already building, already standing on their own. Also, the pre-internship period, it feels like everyone else has it figured out. It feels like everyone else has it figured out, which we talked about last week, but it bears repeating here, because the comparison trap is never more active than during the pre-internship period, when you have nothing to point to and everyone else on your phone, in your WhatsApp groups, in your family's conversations seem to be moving. That feeling can be terrible. And I want to say something very clearly. All of those feelings are normal. They are normal. They're okay. It's okay to have those feelings. Every single one of them. They are not signs that you made the wrong choice. They are not signs that you are falling or you are failing, but they are the entirely predictable emotional landscape of a transition that the system creates and then completely fails to prepare you for. You are not broken. You are navigating something genuinely hard, and you are doing it without a map until now, when you're building one through this particular video. In my experience, pre-internships tend to fall into one of three patterns. I introduced this briefly in episode 1, but I want to go deeper today, because knowing which pattern you are in, that is the first step to changing it. So we'll begin with the first pattern. This is the anxious waiter. Number 1 is the anxious waiter. Now, this is the person who is entirely in reactive mode. Their whole energy is directed at posting. They refresh the government portal daily, asking WhatsApp groups about internship posting. Every conversation actually comes back to, have you heard anything? Their mood rises and falls with every rumor about when postings will come out. And because all of their energy is directed at something they cannot control, they do very little with the things they can. Now, the anxious waiter is not passive because they don't care. They are passive because they are paralyzed. They are stuck at the starting line, waiting for a gun that hasn't fired yet. That is the anxious waiter. The second pattern is the escapist. Now, this is the person who comes or who copes with the uncertainty by avoiding it. They will fill their days with things that feel busy but aren't necessarily building anything. Social events, Netflix, scrolling, not because they are not ambitious, but because the gap between where they are and where they want to be feels so large that starting feels pointless. Now, the questions they keep on asking themselves are, what's the use of doing X if I don't even have a posting yet? Or why build a CV when I don't know what I'm building it for? The escapist uses busyness or distraction as a shield against the discomfort of uncertainty, and the year passes without much to show for it. And then we have the third pattern. This is the intentional builder. Now, this is Zawadi. This is the person who accepts the uncertainty, doesn't fight, doesn't run from it, and decides to build something anyway. Now, they don't need every question answered before they start. They don't need a posting before they invest in themselves. They understand, perhaps intuitively, perhaps because someone told them, that the pre-internship period is not a pause in their career. It is part of their career, and they treat it accordingly. Now, I want to be honest with you. Most people move between these three patterns. Some days you are the intentional builder. Some days you are the anxious waiter. Some weeks, honestly, you are the escapist, and that is being human. That is what uncertainty does to people. Now, the goal is not perfection. That is not the goal. The goal is to spend more of your time in the third pattern than in the first two. And the way you do that is with a framework, which is what the rest of this week is going to give you. That particular framework. I want to give you a simple framework for thinking about the pre-internship period. Not a rigid schedule to follow, not a punishing to-do list, but just a simple framework, a framework that you can use. Now, the framework has 3 pillars, and the goal is to do something, however small, in each pillar consistently throughout this period. Now, pillar 1 is the clinical pillar. That is pillar 1, clinical pillar. Now, your clinical knowledge is perishable. You have to be easy with that truth. Not because you are not smart, but because the brain consolidates and retains knowledge through use. And when you stop using it, even for a few months, the edges start to blur. Now, the confidence starts to fade as well. And by the time your internship comes, you feel like you are starting from scratch. You don't have to let that happen. Now, clinical maintenance during the pre-internship period looks like this. Active revision, not just passive reading, but active recall, using flashcard systems, case-based questions, clinical guidelines. Also, you can do observation and shadowing, which is being in a clinical environment, even informally, to keep your brain in clinical mode. You can volunteer. There are many facilities, NGOs, and community health programs which take graduates on or in a support capacity, and this keeps you sharp and builds your CV simultaneously. You can also join study groups which help in maintaining the intellectual community of your training, even informally, and it does more for your clinical confidence than you realize it. Now, the goal of this pillar is simple: walk into your internship feeling like a clinician, not like someone who used to be one. Pillar 2 is a professional pillar. Now, this is where the pre-internship year becomes a genuine career asset, because while your peers are waiting, you can be building. Professional development during this period looks like this. CV building is one of them. Every course completed, every volunteer role that you've participated in, every research contribution, every leadership position goes on the document that will open doors for the rest of your career. The other one could be networking. You can do that by attending forums, reaching out to mentors, building your LinkedIn presence. We have full episodes coming on all of this, and that's why you should subscribe. We have skill development, that is short courses in areas that interest you. Talk about research methods, public health, medical writing, data analysis, project management. Many of these are free or low cost online. Now, exploring options using this time to research career paths, have conversations with professionals in different fields, or attend talks and panels could also help you. The goal of this pillar is this: come out of the pre-internship period with more professional capital than you went in. Not the same, but more. Now, pillar 3 is personal. This is the pillar that almost everyone neglects, and I want to make the case for why it is as important as the other two. You just completed 6 years of training that asked almost everything of you: your time, your energy, your social life, your rest, your mental health. The pre-internship period, as frustrating and uncertain as it is also an opportunity. An opportunity to recover things that training took from you. Talk about relationships that need attention, a body that needs rest and movement, a mind that needs stillness and reflection. Now, interests and passions that went quiet during the years of study. Now, investing in your personal pillar during this period is not laziness. It is maintenance of the most important professional tool you have, which is you. Now, a depleted, burned out intern serves no one well, but a restored, grounded one is completely different professional, and I want you to be that. Now, 3 pillars: clinical, professional, personal. Not perfectly balanced every day, but all 3 getting some consistent attention across the weeks and months of this period. That is the foundation of a productive pre-internship year. I know that framework can feel good in theory and overwhelming in practice. So I want to close with something very concrete. If you are in your pre-internship period right now, or if you are approaching graduation and you want to be ready, here is what your first week looks like. Not a full plan, just the first week that you can follow, because the first week is the hardest, and it is where most people either start building momentum or they don't. Now, Day 1 and 2, you can rest and do so deliberately. Give yourself 2 days of genuine intentional rest, not guilty rest, not anxious rest, but genuine intentional rest. Not rest interrupted every hour by checking your phone for posting updates, but real rest. Sleep, eat well, move your body, be with people you love. You earned this rest and you need to take it. Now, day 3, write the 3 lists that we've talked about. On day 3, I want you to sit down with a notebook and write 3 lists. List 1, 3 things I want to maintain or build clinically during this period. List 2, 3 things I want to build professionally this period. List 3, 3 things I want to invest in personally this period. Not 20 things, not 10, but 3 each. Specific, honest, and you own them. Now, day 4, make one contact. That is in day 4. Now, reach out to one person. Could be a mentor, a senior professional, a lecturer that you respected, not to ask for anything, but just to reconnect with them, to say something like this: I just graduated and I would love to hear your advice on how to use this period well. Now, most people, when asked that question sincerely, will give you more than you expected. Now, day 5, start one thing, just one, that I want you to start. From any of your 3 lists, you can pick one thing that you need to start with. Start the online course, send the mail to the volunteer coordinator, or open the LinkedIn profile that you need to open, revisit the subject you must need to revise, or any other thing from that particular list that you've written. Just one. Because momentum is not built by doing everything at once. It is built by starting and then not stopping. That's how you build momentum. And I want to tell you something I don't think I've said publicly before. My own transition out of formal training was not that graceful. It was a new territory I was stepping into. And I had moments in that period where I genuinely questioned everything. Whether I had chosen the right path, whether the degree was worth it, whether the system would have space for me, whether the confidence I had felt during the training was real, or whether it will evaporate the moment I was on my own and attending to real patients. And I wasted some of that time, but not all of it, but just some of that time, waiting for a signal that it was safe to start building, waiting to feel ready, waiting for the uncertainty to resolve itself before I committed to anything. Now, here is what I know now that I didn't know then. By the way, I built a digital marketing business at that particular time. Now, the uncertainty doesn't resolve before you start. It resolves before you start. Action creates clarity. Movement creates momentum. And the version of yourself that walks into internship having built something during the gap, even something small during that particular gap, is a fundamentally more confident professional than the one who waited. Not because of what they built, but because of what the building proved to them about themselves. That they could begin without being certain. That they could move without having all the answers. That they were the kind of person who built things even in uncertain conditions. Now, that knowledge about yourself, nothing in your internship can take it from you. That knowledge about yourself, nothing can take it from you. Now, that is episode 6 of After Campus series, the foundation episode for the most important week of this series. Now, before you go, I would like to ask you to do 2 things for me. The first, I want you to go to the comment section and then tell me where you are right now. Are you currently in your pre-internship period, or are you approaching graduation, or are you watching this from further down the road and you wish someone had shown you this framework earlier? Tell me in the comment section, drop it, because this series is more useful when I know exactly who is in the room. Secondly, it's about the next episode. That is episode 7. The next episode, episode 7. And this one, I want you to take seriously. I want you to take seriously. We are talking about the mental health of the pre-internship period, the anxiety, the isolation, the loss of identity that comes with leaving the structure of training, and the things that actually help, practically, honestly, specifically. It is not a heavy episode, but it is an important one for you to listen to, because everything else we cover this week only works if you're okay. And I want to make sure that you are okay. So see you in the next episode. This is Dr. Libea Bethwell, and this is After Campus Series.